Welcome to the ACSA Campus Tour, where on Thursdays we take you to another part of the state and talk with a district administrator about the successes and challenges in their school community during this COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us today is Victor Tam, the principal from the Edwin and Anita Newcomer School in the San Francisco Unified School District. Victor, so good to have you with us today.
Really happy to be on. Thank you.
I want to make sure that I say this exactly as it is to provide the explanation. Your school offers a transitional one-year program designed to teach English skills in reading, writing, and speaking, as well as other basic skills and understanding in all core subject areas to immigrant students. So tell me about the successes and challenges that come when you combine that very unique school environment with distance learning during this pandemic.
Oh, good question. Newcomer education is something that's very unique. You're taking kids who are transitioning from one place into another, a lot of times without much choice in the matter, and they're put into a new system where they don't necessarily speak the English or speak the language or understand the language, and they're kind of lost. So we take them from where they're at and we try to get them on board and ready for the next school. So some of the successes that we've had, especially amidst distance learning, I'm going to go right back to it. And the foundation of our program is our collaborative team. I'm really, really proud of the team that we've built together and how collaboratively they work, especially amongst the distance learning. Because whether it's a big team or a small team, teams can fall apart very easily. And having a small, cohesive team is just a treasure amongst these times. Another success is how we've built connections with the students and families. And our team goes over the top that, you know, when you have families that have a great deal of needs, you need a team that's going to go the distance. And our district has us doing distributions of materials, which is great and really important. But for some of our families, they can't come to the school. And so our team has actually delivered materials, gone out to them. And I know that this is not unique to our school. Like, you hear about these situations where teachers and administrators go out to the students and families, but our team does this almost as a matter of routine. And the other piece of it is finding community supports for the work that we do, because we can't do it alone. And we work alongside community hubs to make things work better for our kids. Some of the challenges, one big challenge at the end of the day is engagement. Engagement is really hard because we don't have that. One thing is that we don't have that physical proximity with the students, and we don't have it with our families. Many of our families are brand new to the country and brand new to our school this year, and we've never even met them in person. So that's a big, big challenge. Engagement is also, especially when it comes to academic learning and in language acquisition, it's building up that background experience for our students. And a lot of times that experience needs to be hands-on or in real life, like a field trip. And we haven't had access to that. So that engagement to the engagement to the learning and the engagement to the topic areas has been, not as strong as it can be, especially in language arts, in English language development, in science, in math. So those pieces are hard. And another piece that is really challenging is that seeing the real inequities that people have to live with, that children have to live with. Because with the Zoom and Google Classrooms, we look into the homes of these kids. And, some of our kids are living in Chinatown, which is one of our poorest neighborhoods where half the students live in these SROs, these single resident occupancy hotels, where the rooms are no bigger than 8 by 10, and they're cramped living quarters with shared bathrooms and shared kitchens, and this amongst the COVID situation. So those pieces are really, really hard.
Hey, Victor, let me ask you about best practices, because social emotional learning, social emotional wellness is so important for students, but also for your staff and for yourself. Can you talk a little bit about SEL and then social emotional wellness for yourself and for your staff, and how you all move through this with best practices?
Very good. So I'm going to start with our students, and I'll go into staff, and then I'll go to myself. So, Raj, I want to ask you, do you know what the number one anxiety-provoking thing is for a human being?
Well, I mean, I could guess, but Victor, I'm going to assume that you have a better answer than I would, a more informed answer than I would.
Well, that number one thing is anxiety. And it was an aha moment last night when I was learning about it, because I was listening to Dr. Mary Helen Immordino Yang, who's a USC professor in education, in neuroscience, and in psychology. And she said that this uncertainty, the inability to predict the future or to make sense in a reliable way of what is happening now, that is inherently unsettling, and it's anxiety provoking, and it's the origin of trauma. And at the end of the day, that is what our kids live with as newcomer immigrant students. They are coming from one place where they've known all their lives, picked up and plopped into a whole nother world. And I'm talking to you about this so passionately because this is my lived experience, that when our family came as immigrants to this country, I was totally lost. And these kids and their families are in transition. So the families too, right now amidst the pandemic especially, don't have work. And so they're dealing with food and housing insecurity. And then on top of that, culturally, for a lot of traditional Chinese families, we focus on academics, and we minimize children's voices and children's emotions. And then another thing that's really challenging is our political climate, where that guy in the White House keeps attacking China and calling this the China virus. So it's really hard, but for our kids, what has worked is having a really great team. Our district has us create these coordinated care teams with our school social workers, our support staff, our classroom teachers, and we work together and we've created a program where it's framed around the Harper for Kids Pyramid of Success program. And they focus on character strengths. So every week we focus on something different. It could be self-control or hard work or friendship. And one key thing is reframing the definition of success for our families. So a lot of times our families come in with this mindset that success is coming in number one, that you need that A to be a success. Anything less than an A, you are a failure. For us, within the Pyramid of Success program, that was built around Coach John Wooden's Pyramid of Success, success is happiness in your heart because you made the effort 100% to do your best. And what I tell the kids is, if you can tell me that you tried your best, that is success. So we do this not just with our kids, but in order to do good work with our students and make a big change, we have to work with our families too. So we do the same thing for our families. And another thing that has been great has been working with former students. We've had former students come in as speakers to talk about where they've landed. And we've been very intentional about finding people who are doing jobs that may not be what our families consider the most successful. Like a lot of our families traditionally think of, oh, you're an engineer, you're an accountant, you're a doctor, and then you're successful. And we've had people who come in as educators, as social workers, and they talk about their jobs at the same time, just to expand our kids' ideas of what is available to them. And then our staff also has regular community circles with our students to open up that safe space for our students to talk about things. So those are things that have worked with our kids. With our staff, I think when we talk about the social emotional piece amidst this pandemic and distance learning, the first thing that I did with our staff that I think helped a lot was framing where we are at, that we are teaching during a pandemic. We're not doing, for some people, they want to focus on online learning and distance learning, but to do those things well, you need a whole lot of training, a whole lot of instruction to really get our team up there. We went in March from a few days or a few weeks right into this teaching during an emergency pandemic. And that's hard. So that was one thing that I started with. Another thing is to be really sensitive to where my team was at. So I have to tell you, I've worked with this team for over 10 years. This is a team that I trust. I really believe in them. I see them, they're working their hardest. And I frame it this way because I don't want you to think that this is a message I would give just any team. Because I have this trust in this team, I have told them that, I give them a lot of room and a lot of space to do their work. And it's kind of like that quote where everyone we meet is fighting a battle that we know nothing about. And it's important to be kind. And because of my role and my relationship with our team, every person on our team has faced, during this pandemic since March, has faced personal struggles that are very, very painful. And we don't see it, right? When we go to our staff meetings, when we go into to our online distant classroom teaching, you don't see it, but it's there. And they have to live with that. And I need to be sensitive to that. So I give them a lot of room. Another thing that I've done is in my leadership style, I try to be very communicative. I try to make that communication genuine and be really understanding and also be really transparent. If I know something, if there's something that I know that can help them or that I feel like they need to know, I'm going to let them know. And if they ask me something that I don't know, I'm not going to make up something. I'm just going to tell them I really don't know. I also feel really lucky because I have a team that's been built so that everyone has agency in it. And I think that's important, especially amidst a pandemic, because there are so many things that are out of our control. So I'd like to believe that I have that team that's like, that quote where they say, build a team that's so strong, you don't know who the boss is. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do like that quote. Victor Tam, principal over at Edwin and Anita Lee Newcomer School in the San Francisco Unified School District. Victor, thank you so much for being with us today. Some great recommendations, some great insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raj.
And thank you, folks, so much for joining us here on the ACSA Campus Tour. Remember, on Thursdays, we take you to another part of the state and talk with a district administrator about the successes and challenges in their school community. That comes your way on Thursdays here on the ACSA Campus Tour.